Hey there, it's Olivia-Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe, and today we are starting an exciting weekly reading vlog. This morning we're going to MCM Comic Con, which is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to meet some really nice authors as well. We're going to Beyonce on Monday, and then we're going to Peak District for a family holiday. So I'll be taking you along with me, and the first thing we're going to do is go to MCM Comic Con. This is the look that I decided to go with. We're just going for like cutesy girl with blue hair.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good, thank you so much for having me, I appreciate it.
I'm here to talk to you about your books.
Yes.
I want to ask, do you have a favourite book?
That I've written?
Yes.
Yes, I do. I wrote a book in 2015 called How to Be a Normal Person. And this book is a comedy about a guy who runs a video store who gets perplexed by the new employee at a coffee shop next door. And the reason this is my favorite book is because this is the first time that I wrote truthfully about asexuality, including my own. This is me coming to terms with my asexuality. So one of the characters in this novel, the main character, is asexual. And it was sort of like my coming out part 2, because I wanted to see myself in a book in a way that I hadn't before. So I wrote it. And the response to that book was overwhelming. Because to this day, even though that book is 8 years old, to this day, I still get messages from people who cite that book as the reason they knew that they were asexual, because it explained it in ways that they understood. And that is the best gift an author could get.
And that sounds really personal as well.
It does. It is deeply personal, but it's one of those things that when you want to be truthful with yourself and speak your truth to the world, sometimes labels are awesome in that regard. Labels aren't for anybody or for everybody, but when you find one that fits for you, it's like this weight lifts off your shoulders.
And would you say that in some of your other books you also get the chance to write yourself into them in different ways?
Yeah, I think every author puts bits and pieces of themselves into a story, regardless of what the story's about. My most recent book, In the Lives of Puppets, Victor is asexual. It's the first time I'm putting asexuality in a book that is being released by a major publisher like this. And but Victor is also partly me. He has his quirks, he has his habits, his weirdness, and that is something that I do all the time. I have my quirks, I have my weirdness, but it translates onto the page because it helps me to relate to that character, especially when I'm writing a character as in-depth and involved as Victor is.
Nice. And would you say, like, how has that experience been going from indie published to traditionally published? Yeah, how has that journey been?
It is quite the difference. I for the first 6-7 years of my career, I was with an independent publisher. And then I decided I wanted to try something different. I felt like I had plateaued. I wasn't growing the way I wanted to grow. And so I wrote a book called The House in the Cerulean Sea, and that book got me an agent, because I had not had an agent before because I was doing everything on my own. That book got me an agent. It also got me a big publishing deal with Macmillan and Tor, my publishers now. But the thing that I've noticed the biggest difference is the fact that with indie publishing, everything moves so much faster. You have to put out a new book as quickly as possible because millions of other people are putting out new books, so you want them to remember your name.
Yeah.
With traditional publishing, books come out. If I turn in a book now, it probably won't come out for 2 years. That's typically the length it takes. But it's also to give time to get your name out there, to get yourself talking to booktubers, book bloggers, book talkers, and it also allows for that newer author to find their place in publishing. I prefer traditional publishing, but I still will self-publish books, or I'll still go with smaller presses because I like that large swath of experience.
So then would you say you're always writing something?
Always.
Like even more so than the ones you see in traditional publishing, some of your indie stuff?
Yeah, it's because the indie publishing, it can be very cutthroat because like I said, you have to get your name out there. you want to make sure that you're known. And with the advent of sites like Amazon, where you can publish a book now if you want to, and people do, it can be very hard to make a splash when there are thousands of people attempting to do the same thing that you're doing. My best advice, and it's something that I wish that I had thought of or had known, is that when you go the traditional publishing route, you lose control of a lot of what you do.
Yeah.
But they have the budget to be able to make up for it. With traditional or with indie publishing, you have so much more control, but it's also because you're doing everything on your own, and there usually is no marketing budget for anything like that. But there are still pros and cons to both. I love indie publishing and I love traditional publishing. Traditional feels very strict and rigid. Independent publishing is kind of the Wild West.
I love that you do both of them. You just get the best of both.
Yeah.
I guess my last question would be, if you could go into one of your books and like meet the characters, which book would you want to go into?
Probably The House of the Cerulean. The reason that book has meant a lot to me, and I know it's meant a lot to a lot of people, but that book was written at a time when, being in the United States, I wrote this book in 2017, shortly after an election of a president that we should not be named here. But I wanted to write that book to remind people that there is still kindness in the world, that there is still joy, that we can still learn from other people. Little did I know that when that book came out, it came out March 17th of 2020, which was right when the pandemic exploded in the world.
Yes.
The book hit the New York Times bestseller list 8 months after it came out. The day it hit the New York Times bestseller list was the same day as the insurrection at the Capitol in the United States. This book has been some weird milestones, but the biggest thing I've heard about this book is that it helped people through a very difficult time. This pandemic, 2020, 2021, was an extraordinary time for all of us. This book meant so much to so many, but it also means so much to me because it has given me so much. And these characters, Chauncey, Lizzie, Talia, Sal, Theodore, those kids in this book are some of my favorite that I've written. And if I could meet Chauncey in real person, in real life one day, that would just be the best thing in the world because he's my favorite character in that book. But I love everything about those characters in that world, and so that's where I'd want to go.
Yeah. I would like to go there too. I love the kids, and I find it so hard to find like fiction books that include kids in a very real sense. In that they're not precocious, in that they're not speaking like they're 30 years old. That's a big thing for me too. When you're reading a book that are centered or involve children, there's nothing that will throw me out quicker when the children start speaking like I do at my age. So when you write kids, you still have to remember, kids are kids, and they're weird, and they don't have a filter. They see what's ever in their head, and that's why I love them. They don't yet know what cynicism is. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. So, Shanghai Immortal is your debut novel.
It is.
How do you feel about it being out in the world this week, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really cool. I can't lie. It's dream come true is, it's pretty apt. It's amazing seeing it in the shops. It's even more amazing seeing people who've read it and enjoy it. That's just wild. I love it.
And how long have you been writing for?
I started writing just after my daughter was born, so it's been 11 years.
Okay. And was Shanghai Immortal the first one you wrote, or?
No, it was the third one I wrote. I wrote it in 2020 during pandemic.
I also really love that Lady Jing is half vampire, half Hulu Jing.
Yes, very good.
And why did you choose those two combinations?
Okay, so I'm a big vampire fan. You know, Anne Rice, Twilight.
Yes, me too.
All of that. Charlene Harris, True Blood. Yeah, totally. I love that. And then Hulu Jing, it's like a very cool, kind of cute, sexy Chinese deity. And I like the idea that they were paired. Like the vampire is, soul sucking, also kind of sexy and sensual. And then you have the Hulu Jing, which is like the equivalent, in stereotype, it's the equivalent of a succubus. Like they prey on men and whatever. And I thought it would be really fun to take those, mash them together, and then put them in a character who is not sexy, who is not sensual.
And see where that gets you.
And see where we go, yes.
That is pretty cool. And this one is set in Shanghai, and it sounds like the trilogy might move around the world. So why did you decide to start in Shanghai? And
So Shanghai, so I wrote it during pandemic at the time when there was some, the rise of the anti-Chinese racism and all the hate crimes that were happening. And I found that really upsetting. And I wanted to write something that was uplifting and sort of freeing, very cathartic. So I found Lady Jing really cathartic to write. But I think because of what was happening at the time, Shanghai was a setting that made sense to me because it had a lot of things that mirrored contemporary time. So at the time it was a treaty port. At the time you had the international concession, you had the French concession, there was imperial aggression coming from Japan as well, and there was a lot of anti-Chinese sentiment during that time too. So I think that kind of came out when I was writing, and to me it sort of fit because I was able to make some social commentary, but in a story that is fantasy and still had levity, and still was some place that I could go to escape when I was writing.
That's good. And would you say that there's been some books or some particular authors that have inspired you along the way?
Oh my God, so many. I mean, because I'm a marginalized author and I'm writing a story that is, it's, most of the cast is Chinese. I don't think I could have sold this book maybe 10, 15 years ago. Like all the authors that came before me, all the ESEA authors, we've got Axie O and Shelley Parker Chan, Xiran Jie Zhao, Fonda Lee, and then even going back before that, Gish Jen and Amy Tan. Oh my God. These authors, they paved a path. I don't think I could have had space. Oh, Su Lin Tan, without them. I wouldn't have it.
And now you get to step into that space and also continue paving the way for other people.
Yeah, exactly.
Really
and
nice.
It's really great. I can see in the pipeline there's so many great books coming out, and I love that there's Chloe Gong has the 1930s Shanghai thing. I have 1930s Shanghai, and then Rosalie Lin is coming out with Daughters of Calamity, which is coming out in 2024, I think. Also set in 1930s Shanghai, but they're all different, and that's great because you don't have you don't get books that are like, oh, we have one Regency book, we have enough, and I love that. I'm like, it's
Finally,
such a great
we've got to this point.
Yeah, it's such a great period. There's so much happening, and it's really nice to be able to see more and seeing the tide, tide lifting everybody. It's nice.
Okay. And my last question for you is going to be, what do you think of the cover? Do you feel like it represents the book really well?
Yes, I love the cover so much. Natalie Chen was the cover designer, and Wei Tong Mai was the cover illustrator, and both of them created just this magic. It's so beautiful. I'm really, really happy. I hope you enjoy it.
I'm very much looking forward to it. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been fun.
And I hope you have a good rest of the day. So I'm back from the MCM Comic Con brunch, and it was really, really nice. I had a really good time. It was lovely to just meet so many authors. All of them were really genuine and easy to talk to and really nice. Well, for me, the highlights were getting to meet TJ Klune. I was very excited for that after loving The House in the Cerulean Sea last year, and he was so happy to sign all of the books, and I got to do a little bit of an interview with him, which was really, really nice. Unfortunately, it was in a room with other people too, so I'm not so sure how well the audio picked things up. And another highlight for me was getting to meet Olivia Blake, and she signed my books, and even though it was like a science fiction fantasy themed roundtable event, she very sneakily also signed my mechanical romance book, which is this one, which is her young adult contemporary under a pen name, and I really, really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars, so I was very happy to get this one signed in particular, but now I'm looking forward to trying her fantasy a lot too. And I also got signed Children of Time by Adrian Chaikovsky, which is one I have yet to read because I still need to get over my arachnophobia enough to pick it up, but he does sound like he's going to be a master of world building, so I'm very excited for this one. In my goodie bag there were lots of really cool items, including this very cute print of a book I'm looking forward to called Shanghai Immortal. Immortal. I also got to interview Alice, A.Y. Chao, who is the author of this book, and that was in a very nice quiet room, so I'm hoping my camera picked up all of the volume. It was just such a lovely day. I stayed a bit afterwards with a friend and we went to the book talk panel, which was nice, and it was kind of nice to support some book talkers that I know now and get to see some friends there. And then I went and listened to like half of the fantasy and folklore panel before I went off to meet my family for lunch. And then it's just been a bit of a chill evening. I posted on Instagram, I am here now and I'm thinking about doing some reading. The first book that I'm reading at the moment and this holiday is Do You Dream of Terra-Two by Temi. This is the Patreon book club book and I am about 2/5 of the way in, so I'm hoping to make some more leeway in this tonight if I possibly can. And I'm also currently reading Lizzie and Belle Mysteries, the second book in the series, Portraits and Poison by J.T. Williams. I actually haven't read the first book in the series, so I'm diving in here. I started it this morning and I've read to almost the halfway mark. Got some nice illustrations in this one, and it's essentially even though it says Portraits and Poison, it's mostly talking about gossip, as in the poison of words. And it's about a painting that goes missing and some children that are also going missing. It's set in a historical time period. So what I'm finding interesting is that there still seems to be a bit of a divide between Black people getting their rights in the way that people want them to be treated. And they're unsure. It's post-slavery, but they don't want the slaves to have their entire freedom. But it's good that the mystery is set there because I think it's opening up the discussion and room for discussion on racism and the way we discriminate against children without going too deep into the slavery depiction, which is what I'm really liking and finding that they're doing quite well in this mystery book. Okay, we've reached the point in the vlog where I'm going to choose a tea from my tea advent calendar. So I already know that we're on 17, we're making good progress, and this one is the chamomile, vanilla and manuka honey tea. I've been drinking a lot of chamomile lately just because my insomnia has been really bad. So even though it's like morning time, I guess I'm going to be drinking this very relaxing tea. But although I've had chamomile and vanilla before, I've not had it with the manuka honey combination. And on it says a blissful dip in a pool of calm, and dusky vanilla infused chamomile, sweet manuka to bring a smile. That just sounds so lovely, and I'm so excited because today is Beyonce day, but I know that today is going to be like exciting and full of hype and full of really good music and getting to see my queen on stage. So it's nice to have a bit of a slow, relaxing morning, and I'm gonna read my books and drink some tea. It is the next day and I'm going to give you a bit of a reading update and what we've done update. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is that I finished the Lizzie and Belle mysteries, and that was a really good middle grade. Everything I said about it stands. I really did like how it handled the like slavery theme all the way through, and I just think the characters were really nice and how it was focused on their friendship. The one thing that I would say is that for a middle grade book, I actually didn't like how much they relied on guns. Yes, people were using them for bad, but also people were using them for good. But I actually haven't come across a middle grade book where guns featured as much as it did in this one. Not saying they were a main event or anything, but I'm still trying to like work out how I feel about that. So I'll probably talk about that more in a wrap-up video. But I also read more of Do You Dream of Terra-Two? It's going really, really well. I'm liking it. I'm wondering if we are ever going to get to Terra-Two because it's like so slow and steady in a good way. Like the pace and the tempo of this is pretty quick and I keep turning the pages, but I am wondering if we're actually going to get to Terra-Two or if everything is just going to go wrong before we get there. I'm halfway through, so I guess I need to read on to find out. Oh yes, so I tried the tea in that reading section, the chamomile, vanilla, manuka honey, and it was so good. I really liked the fusion of vanilla in it because actually it gave the tea a creamier taste, which sounds disgusting for tea if you're someone who drinks tea without milk in it like me, but it actually really, really worked. It was like lovely chamomile and then like the creaminess of the vanilla and the sweetness of the honey. It was just such a good blend, and I'm actually a really big fan of that tea, and all the chamomile tea that I've been drinking doesn't compare. And then the last thing that happened was we went to Beyonce yesterday, and I'm not going to talk about it too much because I spammed my Instagram stories and I had so much fun, and I put little video clips into this vlog, but it was literally the time of my life. I'm so happy that we got to go, and I was vibing before the concert, I was vibing on the stairs, I was vibing in the seats while we were waiting, and I was vibing during that concert. I was so happy with how many like throwback songs she played because T and me got to hear some of her favorites, and when my club song came on, I was moving. It was so good. Like all the songs, the selection was so good, the outfits were pretty good, and the dancers absolutely killed it. It was a very good night. We came back and we're very tired, but now we're gonna go to Peak District, which is the last bit of this vlog, the holiday bit of this vlog, for long walks, hopefully reading, and I guess we'll see. And food. Oh my gosh, we had the best burger ever yesterday. It was the best burger ever. Okay, we made it. We are here. We are staying in a hotel in Chesterfield, so you can easily get to Peak District while you're not there. Oh, I can see myself in the mirror. Anyway, so we are here, and currently on this family holiday, because of who could make it and who couldn't, we are an odd number, which means one person got to have a hotel room to themselves, and that is me, which my sisters gave me very nicely and very kindly because they know me very well, and I will always take a single room by myself if I can. But most importantly, it means that for the snacks, there's double the snacks for me. We have the double bed, which I have sprawled my stuff on already, and I'm about to take a nap because we got late from Beyonce and early departure. That's me. Hello. Then we have a nice little cozy reading area. I doubt I'm gonna have much time to be in here. There's a TV, which I won't be using. I'm kind of not a TV person. And a desk where I'm hoping to edit some videos in the early mornings when I'm awake. We can walk this way. Cupboard with an iron board. Ta-da! Stunning bathroom with a shower. Interesting that there's no bath. There's usually a bath. But that shower head looks like it's gonna be good. Straight downstream though is not good for plats. Peak District and I wasn't feeling very talkative while we were there. I just kind of wanted to enjoy, and I still wanted to vlog and film, but I wasn't really talkative. And so I just wanted to talk you through the 2 books that I finished while I was in Peak District and wrap this vlog up here. So I was mostly focusing on reading Do You Dream of Terra-Two by Temi for our Patreon book club, and I finished it while I was there, and it was a good book. I don't think it was as great as I was hoping it was going to be, and I discussed it deeper with my patrons, but it was a really good sci-fi, and it discussed it had a lot of religious themes in it, but it also did a lot of discussing failure and success. And while I do feel like some of the characters were personality types that we've already seen multiple times, it was interesting to follow them and kind of see their roots and where they went, and the sciencey elements in science fiction were very well done, but I do think there are some inconsistencies to this one. So overall it was a good time, but the pacing was also a bit off. Like, I loved the beginning and then it got slow in the middle, and then the end didn't quite satisfy me as much as I wanted it to. So yes, a 500-page book and a good read, and one I think I'm going to recommend to a lot of people, but was not entirely my favourite. And also in the mornings while I was there, I was reading Wolfwood by Marianna Baer, and this one is a book about a girl whose mother is an artist, but her mother is quite depressed now and so doesn't want to create art anymore. But because they desperately need money, the young daughter decides she's going to take up the paintbrush and finish the exhibition herself on her mother's behalf. And when she does, she finds herself transported into the world of the paintings. And I was just in the mood for something, after the sci-fi book I just finished, I was in the mood for something like magical, not too deep, not one that I was going to love so it was going to take my attention away from the holiday trip, but also one that I could like just sink into and enjoy, and it would be magical and far away. And this delivered everything I wanted it to. It took me into another world. It was fantasy. Our main character is just really striving to do the best with what she's given, but she has to learn that she is the child and she's not the parent, and she needs to take care of like herself. I think there's something where you're trying to help somebody else who's going through a difficult point or time in their life that sometimes you forget to look after yourself in that process, and that's very much what she's dealing with as a teenager, trying to look after her mum. It was a nice magical story, not my favourite book ever, but also it was a good time, and sometimes I do read books just to have a good time, and I appreciate when it gives that to me when I want it. So I enjoyed Wolfwood, I enjoyed Do You Dream of Terra-Two, but both of these are middle of the road reads for me. And that's all I have to say here. I just wanted to quickly give a bit of a talking section to round it all out, but let me know in the comment section down below who's one of your favourite music artists at the moment. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to be updated every time I have a new video. And you know what they say, onwards and upwards. Excelsior!